You've talked about growth and investment, how important that is for the future Canadian economy. And what sorts of things, again, are you talking about with that?
Repatriating investment that has fled Canada over the last 5 years, making sure our tax burden on Canadians is not onerous. That burden keeps getting heavier and heavier on Canadians as we try to exit the pandemic. I would say to the Prime Minister, freeze your taxes right now. And by the way, just as importantly, do not embark upon any new permanent spending programs that will paint your government into a corner. Because if we're talking about mega billions of more spending on a permanent basis, it is going to make a recovery almost impossible because we're trying to come to grips with the immense challenges. We don't want taxes to go up on Canadians, but the larger our debt and deficits, the more likely it is that future governments are going to increase taxes if they can't generate economic growth. And I don't have the confidence that this current Liberal government has the wherewithal or the knowledge to be able to generate prosperity and economic growth that would forestall tax increases. I know we as Conservatives, in the 2008-2009 Great Recession, the global recession, yes, we did spend, but we did it in a very careful and cautious way, in a very targeted way. And we were the last country of the G7 to enter that recession and the first to emerge because of good management under our government. And then we put in place the fiscal anchors to allow our fiscal situation to return back to balance. And that is, in many ways, the kind of broad approach I would commend to the Prime Minister. Look at what happened in previous governments when they were faced with this kind of a crisis. Learn the lessons of those crises and learn some of the good things that happened and the best practices that were implemented, especially under our former Conservative government under Stephen Harper. We did a lot of things right there, and we served Canadians well.
I remember those times. Final question, we've got a couple of minutes left. What about China? How do we make sure our supply chains are not held hostage by, unfortunately, Chinese do hold people hostage as well as economies. How do we do that? Is that something that your caucus is focused on as well?
Yes, we are. There's a few things I would mention in that respect. Firstly, Canada has to be true to its values. And I'm not sure the Prime Minister right now is doing that. We have values of democracy and freedom and human rights that need to be vigorously defended and promoted. And I'm not sure we've done that in the last few years as it relates to our relationship with China. Secondly, we have to be strong. We have to stand firm and understand when our national interests dictate remaining firm, especially in the face of Chinese belligerence. I'm not anti-China, and I'm not anti-Chinese at all. But I have serious reservations about the communist regime in Beijing and its bellicosity and its belligerence as it's tried to exert its authority and power, say, within the Asia-Pacific region and beyond. And we have to be very careful that we as Canadians position ourselves strategically to diversify our trade interests with other countries around the world so that we're not as dependent on China as, say, a country like Australia or New Zealand would be.
Yeah.
We're not, but we have to be careful that we don't become uber dependent on China. Let's make sure that our supply chains are also secure here at home so that we have sovereignty over things like food supply and PPEs, for example.
Sure.